Of course, it is about that time. Happy Wednesday, broadcasting live on Ready, Set, Real Estate with your host, Lisa Puerto, super agent, the one, the only, and the original. Just having fun, edutainment, informing you all, and bringing you phenomenal people doing amazing things in all aspects of the real estate industry. So I am really excited to introduce to you J'zmin Mosley, who is an independent transaction coordinator, brings 10 years at minimum in the real estate game, knowledgeable, sharp, experience, and we're going to get to talk contracts because like I said, I keep telling people the money is in the contract, y'all. The money is in the contract. So if you haven't had figured this out yet, get hip to it. And I'm really excited to bring her on. Let me say this. We have been having some technical challenges, so we're going to work through it at best. And if need be, I will go ahead and bring her back on the show another time. But J'zmin, how are you feeling today? Are we good?
We're good. Sorry, it's a little maintenance going on in the background. I'm sorry.
No one heard it. They were just hearing me yap off. It's all good.
Great. Okay.
Wonderful. You look great, by the way, as always.
Thank you.
Great. So this is really exciting to actually bring you and just your experience and just really highlight TC. And I noticed that TCs are not just on the agent side, but lenders have TCs.
Right.
You know, there are different fields that offer TCs, and I just really celebrate the TC beyond the scope of, you know, what people see is the buyer, seller, and the agent, but there's so many people that are integral to this transaction. And so I wanted to just really bring you on today to just be the voice of the transaction coordinator and independent transaction coordinator. So share with us where you're from and just kind of how you got started in real estate.
So I'm from Long Beach.
Long Beach, LBC, okay.
Yeah, born and raised. And I got my start as my mother's, her real estate assistant. And at 18 years old. And she was working in a real estate office in Long Beach. And she asked me to come on and work with her. And they had a transaction coordinating department. And they were looking for an assistant. And my mom, she said, I think you would really benefit from learning that role. And I think you should take it. And I said, okay. So I went and got my start there, had no experience in real estate, was just getting started. And the lead transaction coordinators there really just took me under their wing and showed me everything.
That is amazing, yes. And what would you say is a critical, I guess maybe trait, something you learned how to, because this is me, right? From what I see, this sharp eye, being able to read, like most people don't like to read, but you've got to read this stuff.
Right. It's very important. You need to be able to multitask for sure.
Okay.
Knowing the contract, you know, like the back of my hand is very important. I point out things sometimes that sometimes the agents don't even realize. I'm like, oh, did you see this?
Right. Exactly.
So that's really, really important. Every box checked, I dotted, T cross is important because
Yes.
the contract definitely sets the tone for the transaction.
Right, exactly. Mariette, thank you. She says, we love learning about real estate industry from this podcast. Thank you for joining. And yes, I missed you at Latitude. We crossed paths. And that is very important because you mentioned about there are things you learn and you're constantly learning, knowing the contract. Are there courses? What are you doing to make sure you're staying abreast on all the changes and your license, which I think is a bonus, by the way.
Right. So although I don't sell,
Right.
I am licensed, so I'm constantly updated with the changes happening, with contracts and guidelines and things like that. Like I said, my mother is a broker,
Right.
so anytime there's something new, she's always calling me. Did you see this? She'll send me emails. She has a compliance page on Facebook that I'm on. So anytime there's something new, she keeps me abreast of everything.
That's awesome. Right. So definitely you have a network and a resource. And for
Right.
those of you who are listening and thinking, hey, I want to get into the real estate industry, but I might not be, I'm not interested in doing lead generating for sales. And here you have someone that's been in the industry, has been doing well, because I mean, you definitely are sought out. I will say that. I know that much of you.
Right.
You're sought out. And that says a lot about your professionalism, knowing your work, and especially when we talk about, when I say things like this, that the money is in the contracts, oftentimes we're talking about renegotiating deals. It's never as it is when we go in, right, Jasmine? Right?
Right. Right.
It's never as is. When somebody submits an offer, we think it's like, oh, it's a wonderful, beautiful pie or cake. And then when we get an escrow, boy, that gets all chopped up.
Oh yeah, things change quickly. The nice agent from the beginning is different.
Right.
So everything changes, and that's why I say the contract sets the tone.
Contract sets the tone. Would you just kind of go into a little bit about your role when you are working? Let's do buyer side, right? So you're working for the selling agent, and you're brought in to manage the transaction from there.
Right.
What is your role in that on that transaction?
So I basically begin as soon as we have a fully executed contract. So once we have that contract, I just take over from there, introducing myself to everyone involved, the listing agent, escrow, the lender, maybe the listing agent's transaction coordinator, assistant, whoever, and just making sure we're all connected. Knowing who I am, I introduce myself to the buyers, letting them know who I am. I'm going to be reaching out to you. If you want to sign escrow paperwork with me, you can. Letting them know that I have the option of sending you things to sign electronically, or we can set an appointment. You can meet with me. But overall, just making sure that the buyer signs all of their paperwork and getting them into escrow. If the lender needs something, they'll ask me for it. But that's basically handling the buyers, and then making sure that I'm managing our broker file from start to finish so that you can get paid on time.
Absolutely, which is why I say compliance equals commissions, right? We are required to have those files that are dotted I's, crossed T's, and your role as from personal experience and just knowing overall the role of the TC, make sure that we have all those forms executed. That fine little section at the bottom needs to be initialed, and make sure that we have that. So that's wonderful. And I really like that you're accessible to, let's say, a buyer to meet with them in person. Because I was going to say, we are finding, especially if we make the shift with more older clients per se, they want to meet in person, right?
Right. So, and I do, like, we've done that a few times in your office where I definitely sit down with the clients and sign everything, picking up escrow packages, dropping off the escrow packages. So, yeah.
Very important. So now let's talk about what it looks like when you're representing the listing agent, like you said. And yes, transactions can have multiple. We're in a transaction where everyone has a TC on all parties, lender, listing agent, and the selling agent. So what is the role there on the listing agent side? What in particular are you managing?
So from start, from taking the listing, it kind of just depends on the agent at what point they want to bring me in. Some agents bring me on right away after taking the listing, or even before taking the listing and asking me, hey, I'm really busy. Can you create this listing agreement for me? Here are the terms. Sure. And, sending it over to get signed, or you taking it with you to an appointment. But other than that, creating the disclosures right away up front so that once we go under contract, they're ready. And just overseeing, making sure that the contingency dates are met. And if we need to send noticeable forms, we can. But I use Folio to track the contingency dates. And I notify my agents 48 hours prior, letting them know, hey, in 2 days, we have this contingency date coming up for these buyers. Do you want me to send a CR and a noticeable form so that they are removing it in 2 days? Or, how would you like me to proceed? So just making sure that we're sticking to our timelines.
Exactly. Timelines are really important. I just want to expand on something that you pointed out, which I think brings immense value from a TC side, especially for a listing agent. When you said preparing the disclosures, I like to, when I represent buyers, I like to do what we call front load them, right? So the document, make sure the lender, so we now have a TBD approval, conditional approval, and we're not waiting for all the conditions. On the listing agent side, I agree, definitely front loading those disclosures. So when you're given 5 days, 7 days to perform, you're not trying to still do that. So for those of you who are listing agents going after listings, front load.
Yeah.
And you have a TC that's saying, I can help.
Right, exactly. Oh, I love to do it right up front because there's nothing like waiting to the last minute and the sellers can't, they're busy or they're not getting them back to me quick enough. And then if we're delayed getting them to the buyer has an additional 5 days. So
you hear that? If you're late and I'm on the buy side, we got 5 more days.
Right, exactly. Yeah, on the buyer side is great. But on the sorry, my phone is doing somewhere. But on the listing side, that's not something that we want.
Right. No, you don't want that. Again, time is of the essence. I don't like to use the frame time is money, but definitely, people are trying to get things done in shorter periods and making sure we're complying. I wanted to go into best practices because 10 years worth and some. You've seen, I can imagine you've seen a lot of files. You've seen a lot. Uh-oh, what happened? I'll bring her back. She switched. Are you good?
Yeah, sorry, phone died.
Oh no. Can you hear me? Okay, we're gonna definitely close off because we're both working and our schedules are very tight. So I just really want to thank you for time blocking for me to come and just feature you, right? I'm really about supporting independent owners, contractors, but again, just so that people are aware that when we're talking about $1.3 trillion annually made in this industry, that means J'zmin makes some money, Lisa's making money, everybody's making money. And so I wanted to share, as we talk about files, best practices, because we've seen it, go smooth, and then we see it get rocky. Right. What are some things and tips that you would recommend, just maybe from each party or transaction? Like, what would be a key thing to get us through to close of escrow?
I would say one thing that I'm seeing is very important is if you're dealing with the transaction that has a city report, having that city report done up front is key, because a city like Compton, they take 7 to 10 days to come out and do their city inspection. And then when they come back, they give you a laundry list of things that need to be repaired. And the seller either has to fix them or the buyer needs to assume responsibility after they close and then have them done. So that's something that I've seen is it can kind of delay a deal, make or break a deal. So you want to have that inspection done up front. I would say Compton is probably the most detailed when coming out to do their inspections. But anything else, I kind of like to manage. So I'm not really seeing any challenges in a transaction. because, I'm managing, unless we're dealing with clients who are just being a little unreasonable or unrealistic.
Agreed. That is actually a great one. City inspection reports, people, and that is separate from your home inspection report. These are two different things. Property inspection reports are not the same as the city inspection report. When people hear as is, not true. It's not an as is deal, because the city's local ordinances government ordinances require retrofitting a degree of compliance. And so I'm so happy you shared that, because yes, we have seen cities like Compton that are a little bit more stringent, a little bit more strict with their protocol with those things. How do people support and connect with you? This is where I want to go.
So I connect with real estate professionals all the time. I get I don't know, maybe 20 Facebook friend requests a day alone, just on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I have a big referral basis for my company. So a lot of my business has grown to where it is right now as a referrals. And a lot of times I'm working a transaction and the other agent on the side is liking what I'm doing and they want to use me moving forward. So that's just kind of been the basis of connecting with people, just being on the same transaction.
You know what, and that I definitely would agree. I think that's the best place to get business is when you're working a deal, right? Because and you know what? I really am happy that you brought that up. And so, give up your website for our listening and our viewing audience. How do they connect with you?
Oh, yes. And my website is premiertcservice.com. If you click on the link, start a file, there are 2 setup pages where you can submit your listing contract or you can open an escrow with me. And it has all of the details that you would need to get started and for me to just take over.
Look at that. Very easy. See, I like when people make it efficient. She said, click a button, upload your file, start a file. I like this. You want to start a file? And Premier. I'm going in and out. Okay, let's make sure we wrap this up. premiertcservice.com. That's PREMIERTC, transaction coordinator, tcservice.com. We're on with J'zmin Mosley, a licensed, experienced, over 10 years, independent transaction coordinator. She brings a lot of value to your transaction. So I would recommend that you learn more. And for those of you who are listening, again, looking to get into this industry, but you may not want to do sales, here's a way to get your foot in the door, run your own business. She runs her own business, makes her own schedule, and it's on her time to make sure that things get done and everybody closes escrow. Any last closing remarks before we sign off? I just want to make sure we get you in here before we get cut off.
Yeah, sorry, it was cut off.
No worries. Any last remarks?
I just want to say thank you for having me on your show. Yay. And for anyone out there who is looking to get some support with their files or has a question about what it is exactly that I do, maybe they're thinking of becoming a transaction coordinator. I answer questions all the time about how to get started and where to begin. So if you need to reach out to me, you can call me, text me, visit my website, and I'd love to talk to you.
Amazing. Thank you all for tuning and joining us on this week's episode. I know I'm like, my mind is all over the place. So I want to make sure that we get it in. Be sure that you learn more about our nonprofit, which this show, Ready Set Real Estate, supports Real Estate 100 Youth Foundation. Check out our website, learn, donate. It's all for a good cause and social good. We teach the next to fix the now. realestate100youth.org. And we'll see you next week on Ready, Set, Real Estate. Thanks, you guys. Thanks, J'zmin.